Rain pelted the windows, a relentless warning of how abruptly life could shift, how the foundation you thought unshakable could crumble in an instant. Matthew Carter, a weary single father with exhaustion etched deep in his gaze, sat on the edge of his modest apartment couch, staring at the unopened eviction notice lying on the table before him. His chest felt crushed under an invisible weight, as if the world had already demanded too much, yet kept piling more on. He had spent years trying to piece his life back together after the death of his wife, struggling to be both mother and father to his young daughter, Emily, and working tirelessly to keep them afloat. But life rarely rewarded effort. Sometimes it just tested people until they fractured. Matthew blinked, fighting the lump in his throat. Raising a child alone had never been part of his plan. Emily was the only light remaining after tragedy had stripped so much from him. At 7, she brimmed with laughter, curiosity, and trust, looking at him as if he possessed answers to every impossible question. Yet today he had none. He wasn't even sure how to protect their home. His position at Bright Sky Innovations teetered on the edge after company cutbacks, and he feared he might be next. Ironically, the one holding his fate in her hands, his boss Evelyn Hart, was known for her unwavering professionalism, icy decision-making, and the invisible walls she kept around herself. She was brilliant, feared, respected, a woman seemingly untouchable. That night, after tucking Emily into bed, Matthew collapsed onto the couch and opened a dating app he hadn't touched in months. A friend had insisted he try it, claiming he needed to meet someone new, but he had never felt ready. Tonight, he swiped merely to distract himself from the anxiety coiling in his chest. He scrolled with detached disinterest, barely noting the faces, names, or fleeting glimpses of strangers seeking connection. And then he stopped cold. There she was, Evelyn Hart, his own boss, the woman whose judgment would determine whether he could continue providing for Emily. Her profile didn't carry the rigid, untouchable aura she exhibited at work. Her hair was loose, her smile subtle but genuine, her eyes touched with vulnerability that hinted at quiet loneliness. Seeing her like this rattled him. He stared too long, stunned, his finger trembling. In a snap of panic, he accidentally tapped, on her photo. Chaos erupted in his chest. He sat upright, breathing sharply, whispering, "No, no, no," as if Shiro could undo the mistake. This was his boss, his formidable, composed boss. What would she think? Angry? Alarmed? Would she fire him? Would she assume he'd been stalking her? A wave of nausea swept over him, hands shaking, realizing he might have just stumbled into another disaster. 5 minutes later, the app buzzed. Matthew squeezed his eyes shut before glancing at the notification, bracing for catastrophe. But what he saw didn't make sense. Not at first. His mind struggled to accept the words. Then his breath hitched, heart faltering in disbelief. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't scorn. It wasn't the cold professionalism he expected. Her message was brief, and strangely, as the hours slipped by, Matthew began noticing subtle cracks in Evelyn's armor, details he had never seen before. The way she lingered by the break room window, lost in quiet thought. The slight tremor in her hand when lifting her coffee cup. The rare softness in her gaze, fleeting and unguarded. That evening, when he came to pick up Emily from her after-school program, he caught her off guard. Evelyn embraced him briefly and asked, gently, why he seemed so down. Children had an uncanny way of sensing sorrow, like shifts in the wind. Matthew forced a smile, but it faltered as he confronted the depth of his own fear. Fear of failing her. Emily deserved consistency, a stable home, a father who could withstand life's pressures without crumbling. On their walk back, she chatted about her day, sharing her little triumphs, friendships, and even her worries about him. Later, after she fell asleep, Matthew reopened the app, staring at the message he had yet to answer. He typed, erased, typed again, finally sending a simple, honest note, something he hoped wouldn't jeopardize a job that meant so much to him. He admitted the like was accidental, expressed his respect for her, and hoped it wouldn't affect their professional relationship. Vulnerable and raw, he pressed send and waited. Hours passed without a reply. The next morning, however, everything shifted. Evelyn asked him to step into her office. His heart threatened to stop. He expected the worst, a reprimand, a warning, perhaps even termination, a blow that could push his life further into uncertainty. But when he entered, she was by the window, eyes glistening, posture softened in a way he had never seen. She spoke, not with the authority of superior, but with the quiet ache of someone who had endured too long in silence. She confessed she had noticed him, not merely as an employee, but as a man devoted to his daughter, resilient under grief and tirelessly hard-working. She admitted she had considered reaching out long before the accidental, but fear of mixing emotions with work had kept her silent. Matthew listened, disbelief swelling in his chest. Evelyn, the woman he had assumed untouchable, was human too, afraid of judgment, afraid of vulnerability, afraid to act. In that instant, something shifted in Matthew. Life wasn't merely testing him. It was offering a possibility he had scarcely dared to imagine. In the following weeks, the world around them subtly transformed. Evelyn appeared more human, more real, more fragile. One evening, a late meeting forced Matthew to bring Emily along. Evelyn's expression softened completely when Emily shyly handed her a small crayon drawing, a look of longing and tenderness Matthew would never forget. It was the gaze of someone who had silently yearned for family, but had lacked the courage to admit it. Their connection deepened, quietly and steadily. Every shared conversation, every late-night discussion about loss and hope, every revelation about what they had endured and what they dreamed of finding strengthened their bond. Evelyn helped Matthew fight the eviction, securing him a better position, not out of pity, but because she finally recognized his value. In turn, Matthew helped her dismantle the walls around her heart, and Emily became the bridge between two adults learning to feel again. True love, they discovered, didn't erupt suddenly. It unfolded gently, like a slow sunrise, warming and steady. Months later, walking through a tranquil park while Emily chased butterflies ahead of them, Evelyn whispered the thought she had left unfinished that night on the app. I was thinking maybe life offers second chances in the most unexpected ways. Maybe you were one of mine. Matthew didn't reply with words. He didn't need to. Their hands found each other, a quiet understanding passing between them. The world seemed just a little lighter, the weight slightly eased. Sometimes, those who appear strongest are quietly breaking. And sometimes, the seemingly broken are capable of the deepest, most healing love. Matthew and Evelyn's story wasn't a coincidence. It was a fragile, delicate hope that emerges from timing, mistakes, and courage. And in a world often filled with heartbreak, it became proof that even accidental moments can blossom into the most beautiful beginnings. If this story touched your heart, inspired warmth, hope, or reflection, please like, comment, and share. Your support helps stories like this reach others who need a reminder that love and second chances are real